Right now, somewhere in your pocket, your phone is buzzing. You already know it's probably nothing important. A like, a notification, maybe an ad disguised as a message. And yet your hand moves toward it anyway. You didn't decide to do that. Something older than you did. Because the urge you feel to check your phone isn't new. It isn't a flaw in your willpower, and it isn't something Silicon Valley invented in a boardroom. It's a 2 million-year-old survival system, and it's still running exactly as designed. The only thing that changed is what it's pointed at. To understand what's happening in your brain right now, you have to go back. Not to the last decade, not to the invention of the smartphone. Back to the African savannah, long before agriculture, long before cities, long before anyone had a name for what a reward even was. Your ancestors were foragers. Every single day, they faced the same unsolvable math problem. Where is the food? Not all of it was visible. Most of it was hidden. Roots buried under soil. Fruit scattered across a wide, unpredictable landscape. Prey that might be behind the next ridge, or might not be there at all. This created a very specific kind of pressure. The humans who survived weren't the ones who sat still. They weren't the ones who gave up after one empty patch of land. They were the ones who kept checking, who kept moving, who kept looking, just one more time, just over the next hill. That behavior needed fuel, and the fuel your brain uses isn't willpower. It's a chemical called dopamine. Here's where most people get dopamine wrong. You've probably heard it called the pleasure chemical. That's not quite right. Dopamine isn't about pleasure. It's about anticipation. In the 1990s, neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz ran a now-famous experiment on primates. He trained monkeys to expect a reward, a small squirt of juice, after a specific cue. What he found surprised him. Dopamine didn't spike when the juice arrived. It spiked before the juice arrived. In the moment of uncertainty. In the gap between the cue and the outcome. Even stranger, when the reward became predictable, the dopamine response faded. But when Schultz made the reward random, sometimes appearing, sometimes not, the dopamine signal didn't fade. It got stronger. It stayed elevated the entire time the animal didn't know what was coming. Uncertainty, it turned out, was the real trigger. Not the reward itself. The not knowing. Think about what that meant for your ancestors. A forager who checked the same bush every day and found nothing would eventually stop checking. That's called extinction, and it's a normal, healthy response. But a forager who checked a bush and sometimes found nothing and sometimes found fruit could never fully extinguish that urge. The unpredictability itself became the hook. This is called a variable ratio reward schedule, and it was first mapped out decades earlier by psychologist B.F. Skinner. Skinner ran experiments with pigeons and levers. When a pigeon got a food pellet, every single time it pressed a lever, it pressed the lever calmly, only when hungry. But when the pellet appeared randomly, sometimes on the first press, sometimes on the 20th, the pigeon pressed the lever obsessively, constantly, even when it wasn't hungry, even when nothing was coming. Skinner had accidentally built a machine for compulsion. Casinos would later build entire industries on the same principle. Slot machines don't pay out on a schedule. They pay out randomly, just often enough to keep your dopamine locked in anticipation mode. Now hold that idea and look at your phone. Every time you unlock it, you don't know what's waiting. Maybe a message from someone you care about. Maybe nothing. Maybe a notification that means something. Maybe one that means nothing at all. You are, biologically, a forager checking a bush. Except the bush buzzes, lights up, and sits 4 inches from your hand at all times. The people who designed these apps didn't invent your compulsion. They studied it. Engineers and product designers have openly referenced Skinner's variable reward research when building features like the pull to refresh gesture, the infinite scroll, the unpredictable timing of likes and comments. Former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris has spoken publicly about this, describing your phone as, in effect, a slot machine you carry in your pocket. Not a metaphor, a design principle. Your ancestors' foraging instinct kept them alive. It made them get up and search, even after a bad day, even after 10 bad days, because the 11th day might be the one with food. That instinct didn't disappear when humans stopped foraging for berries. It just needed a new target. and your phone became the most efficient target that instinct has ever had. There's a deeper layer to this, too. Neuroscientist and researcher Robert Sapolsky, who has spent decades studying stress and reward systems in primates,